Welcome to 7 Days Report, your reliable source of information from all major news from around the world. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitzilogiannis, and I'm happy to have you here with us this evening. Every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m., we bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and insightful commentary on the stories that matter most. Whether you're tuning in for a recap of the week or looking for a deeper understanding of global events, we've got you covered. Let's start with our first news. U.S. and Russian negotiators convened in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, on March 24th to discuss a potential ceasefire in Ukraine, even as Russian drone attacks continued to target Ukrainian civilians. The talks, led by U.S. real estate mogul-turned-diplomat Steve Witkoff and Kremlin officials, including former diplomat Grigory Karasin and intelligence advisor Sergei Beseda, aim to secure a 30-day truce and lay groundwork for broader peace negotiations. The discussions follow a weekend of intensified violence, including a Russian drone strike on Kyiv that killed 3 civilians, including a 5-year-old girl and her father, and injured 10 others. Ukrainian authorities reported widespread damage across 6 regions, with debris from intercepted drones igniting fires in residential buildings and infrastructure. Despite U.S. President Donald Trump's recent claims of progress in limiting strikes on energy facilities, Moscow has continued attacks on cities like Kropyvnytsky and Odessa. Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov described Sunday's U.S.-Ukraine talks as productive, focusing on energy infrastructure protection and ceasefire terms. However, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha condemned Russia's actions as systematic terror undermining peace efforts. The U.S. delegation, including National Security Council's Andrew Peake and State Department's Michael Anton, seeks a Black Sea maritime ceasefire to ease shipping restrictions before pursuing a broader agreement. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov cautioned that painstaking work remains, casting doubt on the U.S. proposed Easter deadline for a truce. As talks proceed, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reiterated demands for Russia to halt strikes, stressing that, without pressure, Moscow will continue destroying lives. The Riyadh negotiations highlight the fragile balance between diplomacy and escalating violence, with civilians bearing the brunt of Russia's relentless drone campaign. Hamdan Balal, a Palestinian co-director of the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, was detained by Israeli soldiers on March 24th after being assaulted by masked settlers in the occupied West Bank village of Susia, according to activists and eyewitnesses. The incident occurred amid escalating tensions between Israeli settlers and Palestinians in the Masafer Yatta region, where the film chronicles efforts to resist home demolitions. Balal was reportedly beaten by settlers during an attack on his village, sustaining injuries to his head and stomach. Activists from the Center for Jewish Nonviolence described a group of 10 to 20 masked settlers armed with sticks and stones targeting Balal's home and destroying property. His whereabouts remain unknown as of March 25th. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, confirmed detaining 3 Palestinians and 1 Israeli civilian suspected of throwing rocks during the altercation, but did not name Balal. Fellow co-director Yuval Abraham, an Israeli filmmaker, condemned the attack as a lynch mob and accused soldiers of abducting Balal from the ambulance. No Other Land won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature earlier this month, drawing international attention to Israel's demolition policies in Masafer Yatta. Basil Adra, another Palestinian co-director, linked the attack to retaliation for the film's success, stating, "We came back from the Oscars and every day since there is an attack on us." Activists and filmmakers have demanded Balal's immediate release, with the International Documentary Fund urging transparency about his detention. The incident underscores broader concerns over settler violence in the West Bank, which often goes unpunished. The attack occurred hours after settlers from the nearby Susia colony attempted to steal sheep and vandalized property in Susia, injuring 4 Palestinians. Israeli forces reportedly blocked ambulances from reaching the wounded. South Korea's Seoul High Court overturned a lower court's conviction of Democratic Party DP leader Lee Jae-myung on Wednesday, acquitting him of violating the Public Official Election Act. The ruling removes a critical legal barrier to his potential presidential candidacy if President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment is finalized. Lee, who narrowly lost the 2022 presidential election to Yoon, was accused of making false statements during a 2021 parliamentary audit and a media interview. Prosecutors alleged he denied ties to a figure involved in a land corruption scandal in Seongnam, where he served as mayor, and misrepresented rezoning pressures from the land ministry. The lower court had sentenced him to a suspended one-year prison term in November 2024, which would have barred him from public office for a decade under election law. The appellate court rejected these claims, stating Lee's remarks did not constitute false information under the law. The decision was met with jubilation from supporters, who celebrated outside the court. Lee called the case politically motivated, criticizing the Yoon administration for wasting public resources on prosecutions instead of addressing national crises like wildfires. The acquittal positions Lee as the frontrunner in a potential snap election, with polls indicating he leads if Yoon's impeachment is upheld. However, uncertainty persists. Prosecutors could appeal to the Supreme Court, and Lee faces unresolved corruption allegations linked to the Seongnam land scandal. Lee's supporters hailed the verdict as a victory for justice, while critics argue the case underscores ongoing tensions between the opposition and Yoon's government. The ruling marks a pivotal moment in South Korea's political saga, balancing legal accountability with electoral pragmatism. The European Commission has called on all EU citizens to assemble 72-hour emergency kits as part of its new Preparedness Union strategy designed to bolster resilience against crises ranging from natural disasters to military threats. The initiative, unveiled on March 26th, aims to harmonize preparedness measures across member states, addressing gaps in existing national guidelines. The recommended supplies include non-perishable food, bottled water, medications, flashlights, power banks, radios, cash, and waterproof copies of essential documents, e.g. ID cards, medical prescriptions. France's existing guidelines, which inspired the EU's proposal, also suggest warm clothing, basic tools like utility knives, and spare keys. Commissioner Hadja Labib emphasized that the goal is to ensure citizens can sustain themselves independently during disruptions to critical services. The strategy responds to escalating threats, including Russia's war in Ukraine, cyber attacks, and infrastructure sabotage. While the EU acknowledges that preparedness levels vary widely among member states, it stresses the need for a unified approach to enhance early warning systems, stockpile critical supplies, medical equipment, energy infrastructure, and improve civilian-military coordination. Member states are tasked with developing tailored guidelines, though the Commission will provide frameworks to standardize efforts. Schools may integrate preparedness lessons to combat misinformation, and an EU Preparedness Day is planned to raise awareness. Officials clarified that the initiative aims to foster resilience, not panic, with Labib stating, "By being well prepared, we want to have the opposite effect." The strategy underscores a shift toward proactive crisis management, building on lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic and geopolitical tensions. By urging citizens to adopt a culture of readiness, the EU seeks to mitigate risks and ensure solidarity in the face of interconnected threats. Panama's government has granted safe passage to former President Ricardo Martinelli to travel to Nicaragua, where he has been granted asylum, Foreign Minister Javier Martinez Acha announced on March 27th. The decision allows Martinelli, convicted of money laundering and sentenced to nearly 11 years in prison, to leave Nicaragua's embassy in Panama City, where he has resided since February 2024. Martinelli, who served as president from 2009 to 2014, faces multiple corruption allegations, including embezzlement and misuse of public funds during his tenure. His legal appeals were rejected by Panama's Supreme Court, rendering him ineligible to run in the 2024 presidential election. Nicaragua granted him political asylum in February 2024, but Panama initially blocked his transfer. The Panamanian government cited humanitarian reasons for the decision, emphasizing Martinelli's need for medical care and a stable environment to pursue his legal defense. Martinez Acha stressed that the safe conduct is strictly humanitarian and does not negate Panama's judicial rulings. Martinelli, who claims the charges are politically motivated, accepted the offer via Instagram, reiterating his innocence. His legal team has not elaborated on his plans post-transfer. Nicaragua has previously sheltered former Salvadoran presidents Mauricio Funes and Salvador Sanchez Cerén, reflecting its history of granting asylum to embattled regional leaders. The move marks a resolution to a prolonged standoff, with Martinelli's political influence lingering despite his legal troubles. Panama's decision underscores a balance between upholding judicial outcomes and addressing humanitarian concerns, though critics may view it as a concession to Nicaragua's diplomatic overtures. A pair of powerful earthquakes struck central Myanmar on March 28, 2025, killing at least 25 people and triggering widespread destruction. The quakes, measuring 7.7 and 6.4 magnitude, had their epicenter near Sagaing, approximately 16 kilometers northwest of the town, at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers. Tremors were felt as far as Bangkok, Thailand, where 3 people died and 81 were reported missing after an under-construction building collapsed. Myanmar's vulnerability stems from its location along the Sagaing Fault, a 200-kilometer transform fault where the Indian Plate and Burma microplate collide. This fault has a history of major quakes, including a 7.7 magnitude event in 1946 and a 6.8 magnitude quake in 2012. The fault slip rate of 11-18 mm annually indicates significant stress accumulation, increasing the likelihood of future seismic activity. The earthquakes caused widespread destruction, including the collapse of the iconic Ava Bridge in Mandalay and several buildings in Myanmar. In Thailand, panicked residents evacuated swaying buildings, while swimming pools overflowed due to the tremors. Myanmar's military government has sought international aid, with India offering assistance. Myanmar has faced recurring seismic threats. A 2016 earthquake killed 3 people and damaged Bagan's ancient pagodas, while a 2017 quake caused similar destruction in the same region. The Sagaing Fault's role in these events underscores the need for enhanced preparedness in densely populated areas. As authorities assess the full extent of the damage, the quakes serve as a stark reminder of Myanmar's position in a high-risk seismic zone. With its active fault lines and historical precedent, the region remains a focal point for earthquake preparedness efforts. As we wrap up another edition of the 7 Days Report, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks for joining me this evening. We've covered a wide array of significant global events, and I hope you found our news insightful and engaging. Remember, you can catch us every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. for your weekly major news from around the world. Stay tuned for our next meeting, where we'll dive deeper into the stories shaping our world. Until then, take care and keep informed. This is Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsilogiannis signing off. Goodbye.